Last time, we talked about the first show in this building. Let me show you all something. We've got some pictures here.
Oh, yeah.
So let's go over some of these photographs that we pulled from our archives. So I'm going to kind of randomly go into different ones. So Gary, let's start off with you, Gary. Rumors. Tell us about that show, and do you remember what year that was?
I have no idea, and I can't remember the show.
You can't remember the show? You can't remember being in that show?
No, I can remember.
It was in the mid-'90s.
Yeah, about 94.
It was a long time ago.
It was a play about Alzheimer's.
Yeah. It was.
Oh, man.
Rumors was a wonderful show. We had a great bunch of actors that were just involved in it and made it a memorable experience.
Do you
And
remember that, Janice?
No.
Georgie and Natasha and...
oh yeah, it was a fantastic bunch of great people from the theater, and you know, Natasha is a professional actress, so to speak, because she's taught it for
Natasha Tolson.
Natasha Tolson, yeah.
Yeah.
And
She is phenomenal and does great things with us here at Temple Civic Theater.
And we had great times together. And Rumors was one of those shows that just involved so many really talented people, and then they had me.
now.
The comic relief.
Yeah.
So also, I see we've got Harvey.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that show, and who else was in that show? Do you have any fun memories about that one?
Well, Laurie Honeycutt was in it.
The second one.
The
Third one.
The third one.
The third one, yeah.
Actually, I was in the third one, I guess.
You were in the second and the third.
Second and third.
Yeah, and I played Elwood P. Dowd, the guy that had his imaginary friend, the
rabbit?
The rabbit.
And I one of the things I remember about it is that I was trying to establish the character, and I had a real stilted voice, and Janice said, you know, you can't do that. Just be your normal self and use your normal voice, and it worked out just great, you know, because of what it was. So I listened to somebody that had a degree.
I was in the first Harvey, which was not done here. It was done over.
Avenue G?
No, it was done at the Ponderosa.
Yeah.
It was done at,
I
which is
remember
no
it.
longer
I
there.
loved it.
Right?
Was that Clark Silverthorne?
Clark Silverthorne, who was
Silverthorne.
another
He was-
one of our early volunteers who did a great deal backstage. I don't know that he did much on stage, but
Well, he was a bunch of small characters. He was the constable in The Music Man. He was the, anytime you need, he did a lot.
he was the minister in
Rainmaker.
He was in
No.
he was in Guys and Dolls when we did the Guys
Inherit
and
the
Dolls.
Wind.
Yeah.
Inherit the
Yeah, and
wasn't he a detective?
he was a
in,
physician
was
in
it
life,
Wait
in
Until
True
Dark?
Life.
Is that the
What was
play
interesting
I'm thinking about the blind woman?
I didn't see that, but
Maybe anyway, at the beginning of Guys and Dolls, there's the Fugue for Tin Horns, which is three guys come out and they sing, and I was Nicely Johnson, and Sam Farah was Benny South Street, and then Clark Silverthorne. And so I started off, I got the horse right here, and then Paul Revere, and then Sam comes in, and then you start doing it, and then Clark comes in. Well, Clark didn't come in. And so I did mine again, and Sam did his again, and Clark didn't come in. And then we did it again, and then Clark comes in. and we finished the song. And I go backstage, and I was going to say something to him, and I saw him over there reading a medical journal, and I said, I'm not going to embarrass him, talk to him. Well, it was like 10 years later. Finally, I went to him, and I said, Clark, you know, when we were in Guys and Dolls, and I came out and the horse right here, and I was involved with it, and you didn't come out. He said, I didn't.
He totally was just back there reading and forgot.
He was reading his medical journal and forgot.
My mom loved Clark Silverthorne because he would always bring, she was a pianist, and he would always bring to the auditions, which she often did, even if she wasn't involved in the show, she would play the auditions. And he always brought the same piece of music, which was Love is Easier the second time around. And it was the same copy over and over. And he'd say, start here, finish here. And he'd always thanked her.
I have a funny story. It's out of character, but Betsi was talking about her mom, Ann Chamlee, who did many plays here. Mostly musical by far, but not entirely. She was the Weezer in
The first,
Steel Magnolias, which is on the next season we get to produce. We'll be recreating that. Ann played keyboard for me a number of times, and I counted since last time we met about this. I've been in or done 36 shows.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would think
But I
more
was-
than that.
I was again up in the balcony conducting, I believe it was South Pacific, and I had a microphone and I could talk to the stage manager backstage and to the booth, and I saw smoke, and I told the booth, I said, "You're going to have to feather this light over here. I'm afraid that the gel is the color plastic they
Yeah.
put on one of these lights. I'm afraid it's caught on fire." And they started taking lights down and so forth, and the smoke still continued. And they couldn't get it done. They had a number of them. The stage was kind of getting a little darker than we'd like to see it at that. And then I looked, and Ann was down behind the spinet piano smoking a cigarette.
Ann Chamlee was, she was just a great person. And I remember she was great friends with Joanne Muchmore, and they were sitting up there for tryouts for, I believe it was for Oliver. And I had worked with my little daughter, Nifty, to try out, and that time she was 5 years old. And so anyway, they had the lights out, and they just had a spotlight where if you stood in the spotlight, you couldn't see. Mm-hmm. And Nifty walks out, and she's real nervous, and with this song that I'd taught her, and Muchmore says, "I know you're nervous." She said, "How are you, Nifty?" She said, "I'm scared." She said, "We're all scared, now sing." And she sang, "Rye whiskey, rye whiskey, rye whiskey, I tried. If I don't get rye whiskey, I surely will die."
27 verses Mother used to say.
When it was over with, Ann Chamlee turned to Muchmore. She said, "I don't care what it is. She's in the show."
She was the first one cast.
So also I see Gary Twigs. Do you remember
Oh,
that
yeah.
one?
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, Twigs was an interesting show. It was a bunch of different little pieces of shows, and I was only in the first little pit with Bruce Henney, who was very involved with theater for a number of years. Lila Barnes was in that show, which was she was old but she was great, and so. Anyhow, I came in and I'd been drinking quite a bit. I said, my first line I remember was, "Where's the bathroom?" Because I was a Swede. Yeah, it was a great show. And, all the shows in their own light are wonderful. And there's just, I cannot think of a show that I didn't enjoy here. There's shows that I liked better or liked worse, but I liked them all.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the Simple Civic Theater, is that you're seeing your friends and neighbors up there being somebody else. And that's important to understand that these people, the people on stage, are just as much of a volunteer as the backstage people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so everybody's doing it for free. Everybody's doing it for free. And they're doing it because it helps people enjoy their lives and,
Right.
and escape from their little traumas of their own life.
Yeah.
And that's
And when we open up in this fall, we're going to be able to do a season. It's also going to be able to be great to reopen this theater and help people forget about
COVID.
the real
2020?
Yes. Everything that's really serious that's happening in our world right now, and it's an escape.
It is.
So that you can go and just be entertained.
I think a quip may be totally out of our lexicon. We used to say that hindsight is 20/20.
Yes.
We don't want hindsight to be 20/20
That's
anymore.
right. No.
That's right.
So, Janice,
Yes.
I see you're a good man, Charlie Brown. And you did that in 1972 and 1979. Is
Yes,
that correct?
that's right.
And you played Lucy
I
both
played
times.
Lucy both times.
So give us some fun stories and give us some information about that.
Well, that was the first show that I did. I had auditioned before but not been cast. And my mother brought me to auditions. I was 14. And Mary Winnick, who was the director at that time, and Charlie Volter was the musical director, had people sing and then read, and then the rest of the people would sing. So I hadn't sung in the first group, and I read, and then I heard the story later. Charlie told my mother something. When I came up to sing, or before I sang, Mary said to Charlie, "That's the one I want to play Lucy, but watch, she won't be able to sing." I sang well enough, and it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. The oldest person in the cast was 21, Gil Greer, who played Snoopy, and by that time I was 15, so I was the youngest. So it was really entirely a group of teenagers, just barely 20-something.
It was a great show.
It was
I
a
auditioned
really-
too. I didn't get a part.
You didn't get a part.
But the next
But
time
you got
it
Roy
was done,
Smell and I didn't.
But that's true.
Betsy, but you were in it though at a subsequent.
Well, we put my mom and maybe your mom. It was 2004. That's not
No,
correct.
no, my mom wouldn't have been involved
My mom
then.
and maybe your dad. Somebody pulled it together. Mom
It was a fundraiser
for the
for
CAC,
some-
which
Oh.
was
Yeah.
our original.
We did it at
the
the CAC.
umbrella.
Yeah.
The Temple Civic Theater was part of the CAC in its first the very first part, and then they split apart because there was a difference in what kind of a building. This is one of the stories anyway. What kind of a building they wanted. The theater wanted the thrust stage, and the CAC wanted the Mayborn Auditorium
The proscenium, yeah.
style. So, but now I got off I'm lost.
You're a good old man,
Oh,
Charlie.
I'm a good old, yeah, it was an old,
Didn't you
everybody
play
was
Snoopy?
old. Everybody was old. I
Yeah.
got to play Snoopy because he couldn't. He was out of town, and I'm so grateful. I was mad at my mother for not asking me first.
That was the third incarnation, the third time I played Lucy.
The third, oh,
Yes.
it was 3 times. I
And-
only knew about
And
2.
John
Well, that wasn't
Mischgen
really-
reprised his role, and my sister Meg and Chamlee Petruka and Betsi Lander-Howell reprised their role from the
9. It was
79 production.
The 79 was done here, and Joanne directed that
Wayne
one.
played Schroeder, which was appropriate because Schroeder plays the piano.
But your mom wanted him to play the real piano.
He did, and I had a great design
And I
for it, but
kept,
nobody.
I kept saying,
No,
no,
I
the
played
point
with
of Schroeder is that he plays a toy piano. Oh, but Wayne can play a real piano. I know that. He plays very well. But Schroeder plays a toy piano. That's the joke.
And every time I hear the Moonlight, I still think, something,
Oh,
Schroeder.
I did. I was in one. I was cast in one play where the character I played the piano in a scene. It's Lord Fancourt Babberley in Charlie's Aunt. Oh. But Joanne decided it didn't advance the plot, so she cut that scene.
Don't you hate that? But didn't you play the piano when they're playing our song?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You did, but
Right.
that was a great show.
And we're going
too.
to talk about that one in a minute.
Ah.
Betsy,
Yes.
so now, if I'm correct, Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, 1986. Betsy, you played Dotsy May.
I did.
Gary, you played Melvin P. Thorpe. Janice, you were Ginger.
Yes.
And Wayne, you were the governor.
That's correct.
So let's talk about that show. All 4 of you were in that show. I know there's got to be some great stories.
That show was a zoo.
It was.